Episode 517. Zhang Yu had a clear read on the situation. With a definite plan in mind, he decisively let go and formed a temporary alliance with Ye Chu, turning his forces completely against his former comrades. Over at Blue Brook Guild, Spring Rain, with his own years of experience in these conflicts, read the situation just as clearly. He arrived at the same conclusion as Zhang Yu. The two guild leaders in the 10th server were worried this would affect their entire guilds, but their respective grandmasters, looking at the current landscape of glory, agreed that such intense conflict was a terrible strategy. Especially now, with a top-tier player like Ye Chu attempting a powerful resurgence in the online game, what kind of impact will that cause? Just look at how pathetic the guilds were during the clearing phase in the 10th server. While the major guilds have an old established foundation in the cleric class that the 10th server lacks, Ye Chu would also enjoy a level of popularity in that field that he doesn't have in the 10th server. This is an opponent you have to guard against on all fronts. How could you possibly give him an opening? It was only after weighing these pros and cons that the two guild leaders felt confident enough to instruct their 10th server elites to cooperate fully with Ye Chu.
Understood. Understood.
Upon hearing the directive, everyone immediately moved into action. They no longer stubbornly stuck to a single area for leveling, but began to roam across the vast training grounds. The difference between the two guilds was this: tyrannical ambition was moving as a collective unit. Blue Brook Pavilion, however, had made no such demand. They still let everyone follow their own preferences. Those who liked partying up continued to grind in groups, and Blue River, who preferred to hone his skills alone, remained steadfastly guarding his own patch of water. He didn't wander off on his own. He deeply admired Spring Willow's final analysis and decision, but it just didn't resonate with him. All this endless scheming and plotting, just hearing about it exhausts him now, let alone trying to think it through. He suddenly remembered those few days he'd spent hanging around the Happy Guild, playing babysitter to all those glory newbies. Back then, there wasn't all this scheming and backstabbing. It all seemed so much simpler, so much happier. Blue River didn't know why he was sighing. He just cleared the nearby mobs with a sense of listless boredom. Blue River thought to himself, the others must be fine. We've been grinding for a while now with no messages. If anything had happened, whether they'd been killed or found the target, they would have reported it through me to Lord Grimm. How is this whole thing going to end? Blue River kept turning it over in his mind, his focus drifting, his attacks against the monsters slowed, becoming half-hearted. Suddenly, a rush of turbulent water sounded in his ears. Though his experience with underwater combat was limited, he knew this sound was anything but normal. It was years of gaming experience that made Blue River tense up instantly. He quickly twisted his character into a role underwater, just as a stream of bullets shot past. He dodged the first volley, but the next few rounds slammed right into his torso. Few players could maneuver nimbly enough to dodge attacks underwater. The bullets struck home, and blossoms of blood instantly bloomed and faded in the water. Blue River had already turned his character around and saw a sharpshooter player standing in the water behind him, the gun's muzzle still trained on him.
Herb Hall.
Blue River recognized him just from the name. He couldn't help but feel a bitter pang of irony. He hadn't wanted to go looking for trouble, but trouble had come looking for him, and it seemed determined not to let him go. But if they came here with murder in mind, they wouldn't have come alone. These elites of theirs were all about the same level, whether on land or in the water. And Blue River was known as one of the Blue Brook Guild's top 5 experts, a player whose skill was genuinely top tier. They weren't so confident as to think that a surprise attack and getting the first move would be enough to take down one of Blue Brook Guild's top 5 experts. Especially when it's these old rivals from Herb Garden. Blue River thought it through calmly, not rushing to counterattack the sharpshooter. He kept moving, swiveling his view, bobbing in the water as he took in the full picture. Just as he'd suspected, there were 4 of them. Among them was even the 10th server's guild leader of Herb Garden, Che Qianzi. The 4 of them had already closed in on Blue River while he was distracted. The sharpshooter dared to attack because all 4 of them were certain Blue River had nowhere left to run. Just then, a message flashed. Blue River opened it to see a smiling emoji from Plantago Seed. Blue River couldn't be bothered to waste words on this guy. His character spun around and he immediately charged straight at Carrot Seed. Utterly confident, Plantago Seed wasn't flustered in the slightest. He didn't advance to meet the enemy, instead retreating steadily while watching the other three continue to close in. Blue River was also keeping a constant eye on his surroundings. As for finishing off Plantago Seed in a couple of moves, he really didn't have that kind of confidence. The three of them weren't far apart. The sharpshooter kept up his suppressing fire. If Plantago could just delay him for a moment, they'd close in and he'd be dead for sure. Plantago Seed clearly understood this as well. Retreating was just a way to buy time. He never intended to keep his distance from Blue River. Seeing his three companions draw near, he stopped his retreat and began to wildly swing his broom, churning the water into a chaotic mess. Blue River had charged forward with such ferocity, but when he got close, he didn't attack. Instead, he suddenly changed direction, dove his character down, and swam toward deeper water. Seeing this, Poplar immediately tossed out a lava flask. On land, a shattering lava flask would spread a sea of fire across the ground. In the water, however, it created an entirely different spectacle. The lava that spilled from the shattered bottle couldn't ignite the water. Instead, it continuously evaporated the lake, churning up bubbles. The current broke it apart, scattering it everywhere, floating and drifting like garbage, polluting a whole patch of the water. A player's character would still take damage from touching these cooled, dark lumps of lava. Blue River was well aware of this, but given his skill, expecting him to navigate through this murky water without touching the scattered lava was simply asking too much. Blue River didn't want to waste time on this obstacle either, so he simply gritted his teeth and charged straight through the filthy-looking water. After tossing the lava flask, Che Chanzi had already swum down to give chase. Of course, his own skill couldn't hurt him. Seeing Blue River charge through the damage and into that patch of water, he flicked his arm and cast a Dark Knight cloak, hoping to trap him for a moment. But Blue River wasn't just running away. He had been keeping a close eye on Caraway's movements the whole time. Seeing Che Chanzi in pursuit, Blue River charged into the water and immediately unleashed a skill.